Hello guys, this is Svetlana from Cosplay and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I created my Iden Versio costume from EA Star Wars Battlefront 2. Yay! This tutorial series is a collaboration with Electronic Arts who asked me to show you how to create the whole costume from scratch. To make this as easy to follow as possible, I'm going to use materials and tools that are affordable and widely accessible. You can find links to all of them in the video description below. And if you need any help with sewing or creating super cool EVA foam armor, make sure to grab one or all of my books on commocosplay.com. So, are you ready? Let's make a costume! Let's begin by sewing a flight suit. As my pattern, I used this one here from my calls. I usually spread out the whole thing first, trace it on translucent paper, and already do my first changes here. When I'm working on the floor, Minna always wants to know what I'm doing. Once I was done, I cut out all pieces and began making a mock-up out of cheap cotton fabric. And yeah, Zelda also required some love. Next, I sewed everything together. And before you ask, the colored clips here are called Wonder Clips. And this was my finished mock-up. As you can see, it was far too wide, and especially the back needed some work. The legs and arms were also pretty loose. To fix this, I made my patterns a bit tighter. Creating a mock-up is a great way to get a perfect fit. For the final suit, I used thick and heavy black jeans fabric. To cut the pieces out, I like to use my sewing weights. Following the step, I cleaned all the edges with my serger, clipped all the parts together, and connected them with my sewing machine. This is what the unfinished top looked like. Before I kept on working, I ironed the seams nice and flat. And prepared a few red stripes for the side of the suit. These clips are really useful. This was actually a really stiff material, but I like the texture and the volume of the fabric. After pinning the strips on, I attached it properly with my sewing machine. Next, I finished the sleeves and clipped them to the suit. Sleeves are a little complicated and I always get super confused. Next, I prepared some parts for the trouser pockets, and that's what they looked like sewed on. As you can see, this thing was one leg of my flight suit. I clipped and sewed it together, combined the left and right leg, and connected all of this to the top of the suit. The result was a lot more fitting than the mock-up. For the emblem on the arm, Benny created the design on his computer and sent it over to our embroidery machine. Once done, I got a neat looking patch. Of course, you can also find these pre-made on the web. I simply sewed these on as well. Next up was the zipper. The original pattern had the zipper only at the pants, but I simply extended it to the rest of the suit. Then I added this faux leather strip on top, and the suit also got a collar. My pre-made mock-up was super helpful for all these adjustments. Next, I finished the ends of the sleeves and the pants. To give the black fabric a worn look, Benny added some weathering with his airbrush. While it was new and clean looking in the beginning, it quickly turned dirty and worn. Much better. The shoulder guard was just a piece of faux leather with some velcro on. I glued on a few red stripes and then sewed over them. Here you can see the final flight suit. I changed a few things from the original pattern, but now it was a perfect fit. The pockets are working, the zipper is hidden, and Benny did a great job on the weathering. I'm satisfied. Next to the gloves and boots. Making gloves from scratch is really annoying, so I just bought some from Amazon. I cut out an extra piece out of faux leather and sewed it into a funnel shape to create an extension for the glove. I clipped the ends together, sewed along the edge and and just glued the whole thing on. Incredibly professional, right? I actually really liked the result. The boots were just slightly altered store items as well. I got rid of a few details, and Benny added a good amount of weathering with oil paint. Looking far more used, right? On to the belt and the holster. Like always, I started with a pattern on my dress form. Simple duct tape was just fine. I used a strong four-letter and traced my shape onto the material. Since I wanted the belt to be really strong, I enforced it with 2 layers and buckram in between. For the black plastic belt parts, I edited my pattern a bit. 5mm high density EVA foam was my base material. I cut out the shape and also made the smaller plates that went on top. For my glue, I used contact cement. Just a few more details, and this part was almost done. To seal it, Benny used gummy dip, which is like a German version of plasti dip. Once dry, he added a bit of grey with his airbrush and sealed it with satin spray varnish. The attachment was just 3 pieces of Velcro hot glued to the inner side. So, first part done. For the canister at the back of the belt, I used a foam pipe that I found in a hardware store. I covered it in 5mm foam and then added a bunch of more elements all around. A few more details here and there, and it was ready to be primed, painted and sealed. Done! As you can see, the attachment worked just with 2 leather straps. Let's continue with the holster for my blaster. I made a paper dummy first and then transferred it to more black faux leather. More buckram in between to make it sturdy. And after sewing the whole thing together, I used leather strips, glue and magnets for the attachment. A bit of weathering and it looked almost real. Now let's bring the belt together. As you can see, I simply slid everything over or attached it with Velcro. Super simple. I think it looked great. And yes, the holster is actually on her left side, which doesn't make really any sense. Now it gets interesting. The base of my breastplate was a Pepakura pattern I found online. Please check the video description to find a download link. Benny printed it out in 85% of the original size and glued all parts together. Next, I separated the paper again into pieces flat enough to copy them to EVA foam. I tried to work with as few pieces as possible to avoid unnecessary seams. Then followed a lot of cutting and even more gluing. Most of the edges required special angles that I had to Dremel down first. This is pretty much just guesswork, but luckily you don't need to be very exact with foam. I Dremeled the remaining seams nice and smooth and was quite happy with the result. Okay, it actually turned out the bottom wasn't quite right. So I replaced it with another part. Much better. The back was made exactly the same way. Benny built another paper dummy and I separated it again. I traced everything on foam, glued it together, added details here and there, and the back was done as well. So and this was supposed to become the box at the front. As you can see, it started with a foam box, a pipe from the hardware store, more angular foam shapes and just a ton of glue. I had seriously no idea what I was doing here, so I tried to stick to my reference and after adding some more details and buttons, I guess it looked like the box in the game. Since the attachment needed to be invisible, magnets were the way to go. I placed some strong ones inside the breastplate and their counterparts to the box with the buttons. Works like a charm. Next, Benny covered all the seams with Quick Seal. This product helps to hide all the ugly gaps. He just smeared some on and smoothed it with water afterwards. You see, smooth and shiny. Following that, he applied several thick layers of gummy dip. And a few silver brush strokes were already enough to give the breastplate a more used and weathered look. Same happened with the back piece and the box for the front. Benny only had to add a little bit of paint to the buttons and finally sealed all parts with more of that spray varnish. Just some attachments missing now. I simply hot glued a bunch of Velcro pieces to the breastplate. Covering the edges prevents the Velcro from peeling off later. Their counterparts got long leather straps. And this is how the attachment worked. Pretty simple, right? The final breastplate was super comfortable and flexible. And the gummy dip and varnish combo made it really shiny too. Almost looked like the real thing. Plus, it had a great fit and was super lightweight. Time for a little fitting test. Just needed a bit of makeup. And I could actually use my real hair for once. Well, except the back, which was totally fake. I was really happy how everything turned out. Yay! I'm almost done with the whole costume. In the next video, I'm going to show you how I built my Inferno Squad helmet completely out of cheap EVA foam. Everything combined, I spent so far $60 on the blaster, the suit and the whole armor. I think that's pretty not bad. If you don't want to miss any of our videos, make sure to subscribe to our channel and let me know in the comments if you still have any questions. Maybe I will answer them. Thanks a lot for watching and see you next time. Bye bye! I am your Fafa. I'm Batman.